Thank you very much, Ray. Okay, so we got a little announcement to make before we start the show. All right, so there's a new way to support the website and podcast. When you're going to shop Amazon, remember, when you shop Amazon, go to the Horror Syndicate website, thehorrorsyndicate.com, and click one of our Amazon banners. Not only will we do not, it doesn't charge you anything extra. Don't worry about that. It just helps us out. We make a small commission by you clicking our banner and then continuing to order through Amazon the way that you would regularly do. So please check that out. It helps us out, and also you're not spending any more money doing it, and that way we can continue to bring in new content. We can buy rights for movies for VHS at midnight to perform for you every Friday night on Facebook Live. The Horror Syndicate is always looking for new writers. That's right, I'm looking at you. We're looking for new writers to join our site. If you have a passion for horror, if you love horror, even if you love video games that are horror related, horror novels, anything horror, and you just want to write about it, you want the world to know about it, please email us at thehorrorsyndicate@gmail.com and let us know a little bit about yourself. Let us know your type of writing style. Introduce yourself. Talk about your favorite horror movies and how long you've been a fan of the horror genre. This helps us out. And we're looking for writers. If you feel like you can make the cut, please message us at thehorrorsyndicate@gmail.com. All right. So other than that, we're going to go into the first segment, which is brought to you by our one and only Jared Letourneau, but we're doing something new this time. We're not covering Bloody Streaming Roulette tonight. Is that correct?
Is correct, guys. This our fearless leader, Razor, who isn't with us again tonight, he and I were discussing about some new content for this month, and he came up with a wonderful idea of doing a Fulci February. So instead of doing BSR this week, I'm going to bring us a review of a Lucio Fulci film, and you'll probably see a few more reviews popping up throughout the month of February. For a lot of horror fans, he's kind of an obscure director. He's an Italian. He passed away almost 20 years ago. So our job is to try to teach you guys a little bit and show you the way. As for my review that's going to replace BSR on Friday, it's going to be 1989's The House of Clocks. And that film follows 3 teenage delinquents that break into a house. And it is the wrong house to break into. My review on Friday, folks.
That's awesome. And you know what's really fun? When I posted up your picture on Fulci Fridays, you said The House of Clocks. It showed a guy getting castrated, so you could consider calling it The House of Cocks. Just the way that it popped up, I just wanted to throw that out there. But House of Clocks, check it out. I can't wait to hear that review. Up next, we have Baron Craze. Baron has a little something for us. We sometimes do it towards the end of the show, but since our topic is huge tonight, we're going to do it early on. Baron, you have your reviews that you do every week for us. What do you have this week?
All right, so many of you know it's called DOA, Dead on Arrival, or for some of these films, they should have never been made in the first damn place. Last week we had Little Red Riding Hood. I know you guys would think it would be something kid-oriented, and why would the Baron touch this, right? Well, damn it. It was a movie that only has a 1.6 rating out of 10. So it's not the kind of, movie for kids, even though I guess I could get a kid kind of voice here and go, I really wanted to see the movie and everything, but it wasn't the kind of movie I would like. It sucked. Yes, that was true. It sucked. It is a lousy, dumb, stupid movie. The only thing cool in it is the castle. That's a real castle in California. You could actually go visit. It's a winery. But this movie is, how do I put it nicely? It's supposed to be a classic take on the Brothers Grimm horror version of this movie. There is first no little girl in it. She's got to be about 28, and I didn't know that back then. But hey, guess what? Hey, they had breast implants going on for these kind of classic versions of this movie. So let's just put it this way: the movie sucks. Now, But for some reason, you guys seem to like that one. It's got over 95 views on the Horror Syndicate page, so I thank you for that. And for this week, we were going to do Jurassic Prey, but we're going to move that to next week. We did find a copy of a 1981 horror flick, and let me tell you right now, it's not classic horror here. It's classic take a dump kind of movie. It is Night of Horror. It is got a 1.4 rating on it.
Ooh.
And I'm going to sacrifice my eyesight and brains on this piece of crap for you, the horror fans, so you don't have to waste your money, your time, your energy, or your sanity. Besides, I don't have no sanity left watching this godforsaken crap. So, hope you enjoy this. And oh, by the way, do you want to know something about this godforsaken movie I'm going to watch? First of all, I never heard of any of the people in this movie, let alone the ones from last week, too. Didn't hear any of them. I mean, you got a film that basically tells you Steve's buddy, Chris, can't understand why he's reluctant to play in their band. That's really the whole thing. That's all they give you as a summary. They don't tell me shit. What happened? The screenwriter decided to have a heart attack halfway through and go, I don't want to do this. I'm going to go sell solar panels to people even though it wasn't invented yet. So what? So shit, that's what he went and did. All right, so that's it from the DOA for this week. Once again, I do thank you for tweeting, retweeting, liking the last one we did and all the others. God only knows what next crap I will have in store for us all. Back to you, Brian.
Thank you very much, Baron. Okay, up next, we have our Syndicate news, convention news. Starting off, we have Morgan with convention news. That's news going all over the world right now with the horror convention season back in line. Morgan, what do we have?
Well, the first con on my list is Crypticon in Jared. This would be for Jared to go to in Kansas City, which is happening in July from the 14th to the 17th. And some of the guests include Kim Coates from Sons of Anarchy, Michael Cudlitz and Seth Gilliam from and Howard Sherman. And next, there's Dallas Fan Expo, which is happening March 31st to April 2nd. And some of the horror guests that they have announced so far would be Tim Curry plus many more people from Rocky Horror, and Norman Reedus and Jeffrey Dean Morgan from, of course, The Walking Dead. And another Dallas area con is Texas Frightmare, which happens at about the first weekend of every May. And some guests there are, they have pretty much the whole 31 cast. The kids from Stranger Things, they're having a Thing reunion, Friday the 13th Part 5 reunion, and yeah. And then Walker Stalker Con has 11 upcoming cons in 11 different cities, and the closest one is Chicago, which is happening March 25th and 26th. And of course, Walker Stalker Con focuses on guests from The Walking Dead. So in all of the cities, you can expect guests like Norman Reedus and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And Indianapolis in June, you can go to Days of the Dead to see Adrian King and CJ Graham, and I'm guessing they just started to announce guests because they didn't really have that many on their site yet. So you can look forward to guest announcements from them, I'm guessing. And another one is Horror Hound, has several upcoming cons, and the closest one would be the one happening in Cincinnati from March 17th to 19th, and they have guests from Bates Motel, The Walking Dead. Kane Hodder is going to be there. The last one I have for tonight is Monster Mania Con in New Jersey.
Woo!
March 10th to 12th. Some of their guests include John Cusack, a couple of the kids from Stranger Things, Danny Lloyd, and Luis and Lisa Burns from The Shining, Nick Castle, Kane Hodder, Doug Bradley, Scott Wilson, who was Herschel on The Walking Dead, Bex Taylor Kloss from Scream, and more Friday the 13th and The Thing guests. Yeah. That's all I got for today.
Awesome. So a lot of conventions happening this season, in the year 2017. So go check it out. We will post up the conventions on our site eventually when we get around to it. Up next, we have Uncle Rayzilla with the Horror Syndicate news. What do we have tonight, Ray?
Thank you, Brian. Well, kids, if you watched the last episode of the Horror Syndicate, you watched the news segment, we were very excited to talk about some casting news as far as the reboot for Friday the 13th goes. Well, it was only a few days after we had made that announcement on the Horror Syndicate and also back on the horrorsyndicate.com that we learned that Paramount has shit canned the whole thing. So it's it wasn't passing the Sting test for me to begin with. They had the principal photography was supposed to begin on March 19th. And here it was, early February, and they're still casting. And there's something about that just didn't smell right. And also, well, I mean, not for nothing, we're making, it's a horror movie that takes place in the woods, so it's not exactly a huge production, but nonetheless, there was something interesting about that. And one of the indicators, one of the things that they felt was one of the reasons why Paramount pulled the plug was the performance of Rings over the last weekend. Rings did not do terribly well in the United States, and it did okay internationally as well, but I'm not sure if that's the actual reason for it. Friday the 13th reboot was supposed to be released theatrically on October 13th later this year. I've learned that there's a Jennifer Lawrence film that Paramount feels is Oscar worthy, an Oscar contender. And so they want to take up that real estate where Friday the 13th would have been. They want to use that real estate as a placeholder for this particular Jennifer Lawrence film. And it kind of makes sense because that is kind of when Oscar season begins. But that seems to be the word coming out of Paramount Studios. So I don't know how that sits with the rest of the syndicate. With the rest of the Syndicate gang, I wasn't too thrilled about the idea of a reboot anyway. But the project seems pretty much dead at this point. Anybody, happy, sad? What's the consensus?
I'm kind of disappointed myself because I always look forward to the slightest possibility of there being a new Friday the 13th film. But to what you were saying, it does seem like that trying to scrunch it together too fast.
Well, for me, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt, Jared, but for me, I would have to say that perhaps Paramount is misjudging the market slightly, because if you're basing, look, the Friday the 13th films are all slasher based, and you will probably pull in at least the old school horror fans to give it a whirl, and at the same time you got the modern ones. So it's it plays factor to our topic tonight that we'll be discussing. But at the same time, if you base your returns off of just Rings, I mean, that's a little different kind of crowd that went to that film. So I would have to say you have to wait and see. I mean, if you take up a great example of it, Dawn of the Dead, the remake, okay, they cut the budget practically in half, if not by more. And what happens in the end? The film does phenomenally well. I'm not saying that's what would have happened with this movie, but there's a very good possibility of that too. There's, I think they just maybe misjudged the market, but to get it done in the period of time they were thinking of, no, it was no way that was going to happen. That was somebody's figure of their imagination. You were going to get everything done by an October release. I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I thought it was a little cutting it just a little close. I know, again, that they're not shooting Lord of the Rings. They don't need 6 months of pre-production, but still there was something about that. It was a little hokey. Well, Paramount actually wasn't finished rearranging its slate of genre films, because they also pushed back the date for the Brad Pitt film World War Z 2. So we can now that's a big question mark, and I have to confess this makes me a little happy because I really didn't care for the I didn't care for the first one. I didn't like it. A lot of it reminded me of Black Friday at the Paramus Mall. Just the hordes of people, and it was just. Is it a horror movie? Is it not? Is it a zombie movie? Is it not a zombie movie? Can I get a falafel? It was just, I didn't care for it. I didn't like it. So I say bravo to Paramount Studios for pushing that one back. So who knows if either film will see the light of day. So there you have in a week's time. Here we are talking about the excitement of a casting of a movie, and then 7 days go by and it's shot to shit. So that's the news, guys. Back to you, Brian.
All right. So those joining us, this is going to be our main topic tonight. Feel free to join in on the Facebook comments below. We will read your comments here live, and then that way we can discuss everyone's opinions about how we feel about Friday the 13th. Also in the main topic, the Friday the 13th movies have done well commercially, but look at the time period they've done well. It was the 80s when Paramount was at its prime with the Friday the 13th anthology. And it wasn't until after Jason Lives when Paramount really started to dissect the final product. We saw that with the New Blood, and we saw that with definitely saw that with Jason Takes Manhattan, and right, did I say it was New Blood's number 7? Right, I always get that one fucking confused. But
yeah.
Okay, cool. Yes. Back to my rant. So Paramount really fucked up with Jason Takes Manhattan, but known to behold, it is a cult classic. Everyone loves Jason Takes Manhattan, but there's always a lot of mixed reviews about it, but still people would prefer to watch Jason Takes Manhattan over Jason Goes to Hell or any of the New Line movies. Jason Takes Manhattan, we discussed this on our Friday the 13th episode. Jason Takes Manhattan was supposed to be shot right throughout all of New York. We had a scene at the Empire State Building. We had a scene on the Brooklyn Bridge. We had a majority of the movies to take place of Jason chasing down the previous character from the part 7 who was supposed to return, but that whole fucking mess went. But anyway, back to the point. Paramount had the money to make that happen. They chose not to, and this isn't the first time that Paramount ended up backing down on what could have been a success. And Friday the 13th. You may compare it to movies such as, I've heard this over and over again. People compare the Friday the 13th movies to The Exorcist, to The Thing. Those movies had a great script and they were shot really well. Friday the 13th was known for its kills, but that's what brought the fans in. My question to all of you out there, and including our syndicate, and we're going to go round table on this right now. My question to everybody is, do you think that Paramount knew they had a piece of shit for Friday the 13th, and they realized that because the Rings did so poorly, that this is the reason why they canceled Friday the 13th and World War Z? Do you think the scripts are just not good enough anymore? Do you think that the priorities are fucked? Let me know how you feel. Let's go around. Who would like to go first?
I think it had a little something to do with that, yeah. And the Rings franchise, what has it been, 10 years since the last one, maybe?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's
Yes.
something like that. I mean, so people kind of forgot about it. And, honestly, maybe people don't think Samara's creepy anymore. I don't know. But I think that probably had a hand in it. Especially since there's a little level of expectation. They don't want to put something half-assed out, and I can respect that, but I'd really like to see something come out of this eventually, even if it's in 2018. I'd rather them pull the plug and then put out a piece of shit. I got it.
No, I absolutely agree with that. I believe that there was talks in the script about how they were going to touch back on Jason Voorhees' father, which, you know what, we discussed this last week. Ray Zilla, you brought it up. No one wants to see that shit. Why do we want all this backstory? Why the hell do we need to go back into look? Okay, Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. Do we really need that movie besides all the gore and Alex D'Andro's breast, whatever? Like, people loved her breast in that movie. I'm being a gentleman about it because we have a lady on the show, and I don't want to over sexualize this show.
Send your cards and letters to Brian. Care of the Horror Syndicate.
Now, so my question for you guys: do we really need to make horror prequels, in modern horror when so much of the success depended on the time that the movies came out? Do you think modern horror could get away with doing good prequels?
That's an odd question.
That is a good question. It's a good question, though.
A lot of times it's the market. It's the marketplace sometimes that drives the content. When the Friday the 13th films were being made in the 80s, we had the VHS explosion, and for studios and for filmmakers, this was a great time because there was suddenly a new avenue to sell your product to. You can now sell, once movies were done running in the theater, they got sold to television, and then that was it. Well, when VHS came along, there became a new revenue stream for companies. So the marketplace a lot of times drives what happens, drives the content. So the Friday the 13th films got made very rapidly, and just as rapidly went to VHS, went to home video, and one fed the other. This is why you saw such an extension of sequels come from the franchise. I think I'm with the Baron. I think that Paramount Studios misread the marketplace. I think that Friday the 13th is a very strong brand. It's a very strong brand. Just because you missed an October 13th, Friday the 13th release date, I don't believe is necessarily cause to pull the plug. Rumor had it that there was issues with the production company. And, again, having this, very tight turnaround while still casting now. But even though the turnaround sounds tight to us, they're still looking for casting with 30, 40 days out before they're going to photography. Many a movie has gone to photography while they were still writing the script. That happens an awful lot. So even though the turnaround sounds a little tight to us, it seems like perhaps there was an issue with whoever was going to be doing the actual production services, who was ever going to be doing the actual filming. It sounds like they couldn't get their act together. I don't know. I do not know. I don't want to make any wild guesses, but that's kind of what I've been reading from the various articles, and some of the articles that you can find on horrorsyndicate.com on our website. But no, I think it's a strong brand. So what? Who knows? Maybe down the road they'll regroup and they'll try again. But as far as it being a reboot or a prequel, like Brian's been saying, I'm so not a fan of that. I think that audiences are a little bit smarter than that. I don't think that they need to be retold over and over and over again how Spider-Man got his powers, or how the X-Men appeared, or how many times Batman has to watch his, little Bruce Wayne has to watch his fucking parents get shot. I'm sick of seeing those scenes. I think that these characters are strong enough. Give the audience some credit, and give these characters some credit. I feel that these characters are strong enough that, let's enough with the origin stories. Drop me me into an adventure, drop me into a story, drop me into a situation. Jason is out there. We know he's out there. Why the living fuck do I need to see? But seriously, how many times do we need to see Bruce Wayne's parents gunned down in that alleyway? How many fucking times do we need to see it? We get it. We know it. The character is very, very, very strong. It's part of the lexicon of our culture and has been so for 50, 60 years. How long has Batman been around? Give the narrative a little credit, in my opinion. I think I would like to see them regroup. Please don't do a reboot. Jason's out there in the woods. Don't mess with his shit. Don't touch his stuff, or else he's going to come after you. And give us a good story and drop our characters into a situation and get the ball rolling. I like movies that get up and run. So that would be my hope. Anyway, for a Friday the 13th film.
Morgan, how do you feel about all this? Do you feel like, because you're part of the younger generation who's starting to understand, you saw the Ring movie, Ring 1 and 2, right?
No. Because
God fucking
I was
damn it,
scared of
Morgan.
it
The
when I was
first one's
little.
good.
And my grandma had a well in her house, okay? I didn't want to watch that movie. Like, no.
All right. Well, my next question: do you feel like Ray answered this perfectly? I want to hear your response for this. Do you feel like that movies should stop having all of these prequels in modern horror? Do you think modern horror prequels should stop being made? I know if the next one we have. Once again, we're reliving the fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but now it's going to be about Leatherface as a fucking child. I'm not going to go into that. I just knocked my headphones off because I'm pissed off about the whole rebooting. How do you feel about modern horror prequels? Is this something up your alley, or is this something that you just don't like?
I think it's subjective.
I mean, like, I forgot what I was going to say. I was like, this is what I'm going to say, but now it's gone.
All right. So, kind of put it. All right. What is American Horror Story? No, fuck it. I don't care. I'm done.
What?
I don't know. Okay. So, I have a question for you, Morgan. I have a question for you. American Horror Story. Okay. Stranger Things. Big Bang Theory. You know these shows, right?
Yes.
Okay. No. Hear me out. Oh, there's a lot of skepticism about Big Bang Theory not being funny. It just makes all of these comic book references. Okay, bear with me on this. Stranger Things and American Horror Story are making the horror genre more acceptable in today's society. Do you feel that American Horror Story and Stranger Things are making the horror genre socially acceptable to the youngsters, the millennials, the kids today?
Stranger Things, yes. American Horror Story, no. That is still a very racy show. But I mean, it's not. I don't know. It is. I feel like the horror is toned down, but there's still a lot of sex and stuff in it. So it definitely not suitable for younger children. But Stranger Things, younger children could watch, and anybody, I could see anybody watching.
Okay, but do you
American
feel
Horror
like?
Story,
Do you feel like that it's because of shows like American Horror Story and Stranger Things that we've had all these horror fans that they go to the conventions, like all of us here, they go to conventions. It's a very tight small group. A lot of us love the horrors from the 80s. A lot of us are starting to get into modern horror. But do you feel like American Horror Story and Stranger Things are now making the horror genre socially acceptable in a time of politics? In a time of media streaming, in a time of social media, Do you feel like American Horror Story and Stranger Things are now making a horror socially acceptable in today's day and age?
Yeah, I guess a little bit.
Okay, so like if like say for example you're out, you're talking to friends that at like a college party. You're drinking, you're getting along. Obviously, you're going to talk about Donald Trump. Obviously, you're going to talk about Lady Gaga, the Super Bowl. Do you feel like the whole room now, compared to 10 years ago when horror fans were talking about, movies such as Friday the 13th or TV shows such as It? Do you feel like there would be more people in the room joining in the conversation whenever someone brings up the words Stranger Things or American Horror Story?
Stranger Things, I feel like yes. American Horror Story, I'm not sure about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Morgan. Anyone else have any inputs? Is American Horror Story and Stranger Things making the horror genre socially acceptable in today's day and age?
I think in a way it is a little bit, just like she said. Stranger Things is definitely more toned down to a younger generation. The kids like us in the 80s that grew up watching the Goonies and watched the Monster Squad. Like we immediately were drawn to that. Would probably show that show to our kids. I don't have any kids, but if you had them, you'd probably let them watch it.
I think you'd actually.
And I want to go back to a second. That what in the living fuck? I was laughing my ass off. I just want to go back to that for a second.
No, but go ahead, Ray. You sound like you were going to say something about.
Yeah, I think it kind of. I think the question you're asking is, have these cable and Netflix series made horror more digestible for a mainstream audience? And I would think that it has started a little earlier than that with Walking Dead. You have people watching Walking Dead who weren't necessarily horror fans, who didn't necessarily consider themselves to be horror fans, and the size of the audience kind of shows that you have people that weren't, who don't even necessarily buy tickets to go see horror films theatrically, but they'll sit down and watch an episode of The Walking Dead. So I think that it is. I think it's definitely become more mainstream. I think shows like Walking Dead and definitely American Horror Story help to make horror more mainstream. I've said on the show a few times, high tide raises all boats. If one show does well and in one particular genre, then we'll see a movement of more content like that particular piece, like American Horror Story. So we'll see things like Stranger Things, and I think they announced actually Stranger Things 2.
Yep.
Is going to be coming also. That was announced not that long ago.
Yeah,
so
the sneak peek was during the Super Bowl.
Right, the sneak peek was during that lovely game. So, but to answer your question, Brian, yeah, I think I think that over time horror has become a little more mainstream. Yeah.
Okay.
Certainly more than when I was a youngster. Horror was under attack when I was a youngster in the 80s. When I was a teenager going into college, horror was under attack by the MPAA. Wouldn't run ads. Theaters wouldn't run unrated films. Certain channels wouldn't run trailers for films that had no rating.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
But like back in 1985, the movie was rated PG. Most likely, it could be at today's standards. It could be rated PG to R. Where if you have a movie today rated PG-13, it's rated PG-13 by Mothers Against Drunk Driving, the Catholic Church, It's rated PG-13, and everything is cut out. Look at 16 Candles.
The,
16
the
Candles.
ratings are nonsense.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the ratings are nonsense. The ratings have always been nonsense. I could show you 2 R-rated films where in one, they use the F word 3 times, and in the other one, there's disembowelment. They're eating eyeballs. There's limbs being tossed, bloodshed, nudity, and yet both of these films have earned the same rating. The ratings are horseshit. They've always been horseshit.
Yeah.
Morgan, you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say about the ratings. Did any of you watch Yoga Hosers? Okay.
No.
Not yet.
God fucking damn it.
Okay, well,
Those little wiener guys scare me.
yeah, or whenever before it came out, Kevin Smith was like fighting to try to get the rating down because he said like he made the movie for like teenage girls and they wanted to rate it like rated R or something like that. And really, if you watch it, you're like, this should not have been rated R. I think he did get the rating down though. So, but anyway, yeah.
So you're saying that Yoga Hosers should have been rated PG, but he was going for the R rating to get more people to watch it?
No, he was trying to get it rated like PG-13, and but the rating people wanted to make it like rated R or more.
They wanted to give it a harder rating.
Got you.
Yeah.
And
If you watch it, you like it's clear that it shouldn't. Like, there's nothing bad about that. Like, I don't get why they wanted to rate it higher, but yeah.
Look at movies such as 16 Candles. When 16 Candles came out, how many times did they say the F word? Like 3 times? They say fuck 3 times. Fuck, fuck, fuck. And then they also showed about 5 seconds of frontal nudity in a shower scene. Now, this has gone on in the 80s where they showed shower scenes exposing breast and breasts are bouncing. Today, if you show a bouncing breast, you better make sure that it's covered up because if it's a woman's nipple, it's going to get censorized. It's going to get thrown away. Jesus is going to come down and smite your children if they see this kind of bullshit. But if it's a male nipple, it's totally fine. Won't get far into that. But just like the Bruce Campbell said, and he said it perfectly, in today's world, you can show a breast getting cut off. You just can't show someone kissing it. Now, with that being said, with that being said, I think that modern horror, in order to progress, because now we have American Horror Story, now we have Walking Dead, now we have Stranger Things. I think in order for modern horror to progress is to drop the fucking PG-13 rating. Drop it. Set it on fire, throw it out the goddamn window, and give us our hardcore, not even hardcore, give us our R ratings, because horror is an R-rated content, and it's not for the masses, it's for the individuals. And that's what keeps horror alive. Horror could have been dead in the 80s. Horror could have been thrown out the window, but it's brought back because of the fans. And the studios
and the marketplace.
And the marketplace. Exactly.
Horror was very successful. Horror was very, very, very successful in the marketplace. VHS did a lot to elevate horror films. There was a new revenue stream. I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, you're fine. You're fine.
That's one of the reasons why horror, low cost, high yield.
But they're getting.
So I'm sorry.
No,
go ahead.
They're getting away with too much now with the PG-13 rating. The first movie that did it for me was The Fog. Look at John Carpenter's The Fog. That was rated PG. Am I correct? When the first one came out in 80, or was that rated R? I'm not sure. But regardless, they remade it.
Sure.
They remade it to a PG-13 rating. That was the first time I've seen shit like that. My question for everyone here: when was the first time that you saw modern horror go down the poop chute? Baron.
Okay, first of all, let's get a couple things straight. The Fog, the original, was rated R. Second of all, horror should be rated R only. First of all, it's got 3 R's in its name, horror. It's a very coarse word. It's very in your face. You think about it. The R's basically stand for what? Ravage, ruthless, and revenue. I mean, you know, you can have revenue, and how many bodies can we rack up by the end of the movie? Many reviews know, hey, what's the body count? Then next question is, what's the TNA count? You see how our minds go for these films? You don't need to make it harder than it is. We just like our gore. We want our storylines. We don't need backstories. We really don't. If you want to give me a backstory, give me a damn freaking sentence and put that sentence as a 5-word tagline on the poster. I'll be happy with you there. I really don't need to know who the hell came up with this person. I just want to see the slaughter. I go to these movies like a lot of other people when I was a kid, and I basically went there going, I'm the killer. I like to do this to all the people I hate. Go. And just kill. I want to see blood on the walls, on the floor, everywhere. I want to be slipping and sliding the blood and going, hey, can I actually get that as a takeout meal, maybe? I mean, so when it comes to modern horror for myself, I don't know. I can't get into it. It's something about it. It's watered down. Like we were talking about the ratings, as Brian tries to eat a tin can on the camera. It's always nice. Go for that, Brian.
It tastes a lot better than the beer itself, okay?
Okay.
No, I want to rip off the label.
All right. Wait, we're talking about these ratings for a moment. I wait till everybody's done so I can figure this out. Ratings, first of all, when it comes to horror always gets slammed. I mean, look at Platoon. Hell, you got bodies being blown apart and things. I mean, face it, those movies are allowed to do what they want to do, and there's never a problem. And as far as the nudity and the violence, I'll give you a perfect one. If anybody ever saw The People versus Larry Flint makes a great point in the film where he basically says, look, you can show the burning bodies and all the war and cut off heads and wearing, you know, actual ears around your neck and everything. Soldiers did this shit. But if you show nudity, oh shit, you just like Mazda just had sex on the altar of a church while the Pope was there with Mother Superior all going, oh my God! No, see, you just can't have that kind of shit. It's just messing up people's lives. And horror just needs to get back to its roots. As for modern horror, I don't consider it. Just make it so everybody could like it. And the reason, though, we have PG-13 is easy. We want to get as many people in the theater as possible to make the money.
Right.
That's all they care about.
Yep.
That's all they really care about. As many people can get in. If you're making an horror film, you got to go with the parents nowadays. Get the kid in the theater. Now the parents do. They want to go. They go if they grew up on that. But otherwise, hell, who knows? That kid goes back to school that Monday and tells their kids, the other kids in class, hey, I went to see this film. Now the parents are in trouble with these schools nowadays. So there's a lot of problems. But you have a PG-13 film, anybody can really get into it. But the problem is it's watered down. It's just watered down. We don't get what we used to get. We get cutaway scenes, a lot of shadow scenes. Everything's in the dark. We don't get to see it. I don't know. Modern horror to me is, it's just not there. And when we talk about modern horror, I think what needs to happen in horror, we need a backlash. We need filmmakers to step up and say, you know what? This is what we want to see. This is the horror we want. Only thing that's being left for us nowadays is the obscure horror. There's guys out there making, we all know it. There's guys who've made the Hunters movie. That's a little messed up, that guy.
Adam Albrandt?
Oh yeah, he's a bit nuts. I like him. I think he's a really nice person. Should run for office or something. I vote for him. No problem. But yeah, modern horror, I don't understand it. I mean, I've seen it, but I don't get it.
Yeah. It's just a completely new demographic, and I think that has a lot to do with the studios thinking they know what the consumers want.
Well, that's all it is.
You know,
that's
Brian, if I
dollars, that's what it matters about.
Go ahead, Ray.
You know, Brian, if I could answer your question, what was one of the first movies that I thought, you know, because we're talking about modern horror. I'm assuming that, you know, you're associating, you know, big studio is what you're talking about as far as modern horror, what the majors try to pass off as horror films. I would have to say, to answer your question, I would throw Van Helsing in there as perhaps a good example
of what?
Of shit.
Yes,
Man.
yes, there you go.
Oh,
That's
man.
good. Yes, shit.
Wholeheartedly
really
agree. Big.
how the modern studios, the contemporary big budget studios, don't get horror. That's why we get World War Z. That's why we get and that's why we get things like Van Helsing
And of
that
course,
suck
Tom
out loud.
Cruise in The Mummy. Don't forget that. Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah, I know.
We just can't wait for that. Then that didn't get pushed back. Damn.
Yeah, I know. What a drag.
Jared, Jared, would you like to touch base on this?
As far as like one in particular movie that kind of drew me off, I don't know if I could pinpoint any one film. Big fan of the Insidious films.
Okay.
They don't do anything for me, but I do like the Conjuring films on the flip side of the paranormal side. But it's all subjective to everybody. But I mean, if I had to pinpoint one movie to modern horror, I don't think I could. Maybe Annabelle.
Okay, so you're naming now like modern horror. Let's look at some of the pioneers of modern horror. James Wan, huge. He is the most successful horror director in today's day and age when it comes to big budget. He's given us movies like Saw, and that's what started it. And then there was Death Sentence, which is more of a thriller. But then he started doing the Insidious. He started doing the Conjuring, and he's one of the pioneers
those
where
big budget movies.
No, not at all. They were cut down, but they were successful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sure.
Now, asking someone of today, kind of our next question for everybody. Everyone needs to get involved. Do you think that horror fans are still stuck in the 80s, and that's why we cannot appreciate modern horror?
Huh.
Anyone?
I'm always stuck.
Brian
I'm always
throwing
stuck
some
in the
shade.
80s.
No, it was a discussion that I had on one of the Facebook pages. They said the reason why Friday the 13th will not be successful is because everyone wants to have an 80s reference in it when we should just move on. But my rebuttal was, what is there to move on when modern horror is all the same, and especially when you have Paramount Studios pulling away from their products after a movie like Rings fails. Like, come on, we're smarter than that.
And you got to think, like, Friday the 13th has a core fan base. There is a bunch of fanboys for that franchise. They will show up to a theatrical release of a Friday the 13th film.
I think so. I think so. I don't think that brand is dead. There's been a good enough period of time. What did we say? Familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah.
Yet absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Mm-hmm.
So which was really what caused the death of not just the Friday the 13th franchise for a while, but the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, the Hellraiser franchise. Too many sequels. Familiarity eventually breeds contempt. Everything comes to an end eventually. So will Walking Dead one day. But once you give a franchise enough time to leave people's mind and allow them to grow nostalgic for it, because we're all nostalgic. It doesn't matter what era we're nostalgic for. We're always going to be nostalgic for that television show, that piece of music, that movie that we saw that struck a responsive chord when we were young. And that was something that we will always want to revisit over and over and over again. So there's nothing wrong with being nostalgic. It's just a matter of wanting to revisit those feelings and wanting to revisit that era. Friday the 13th, I think, is a strong brand. I think that you give it a rest, give it enough time so that people anticipate it and want it again instead of rolling their eyes over it. Perhaps that's the key to it, is you have to let some time pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely. Especially. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jared.
I was just gonna say I can agree with that. It's been Friday. Would have been Freddy versus Jason. That would have been 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
14, 12.
And then you had the reboot.
I mean, that's a long period of time.
Now,
when was the reboot? 07?
The reboot. Yeah.
Was 9?
Sorry.
Was it 09 or 07? I can't remember.
9.
It was 9. I think.
So my question for you, now that you, Jared, you actually got to my next question. Friday the 13th, the reboot. Why did it work? Even though it's considered modern horror, the reboot itself, why did it work? And I know,
Sam
Ray, you're not
Winchester.
a fan of remakes, Ray. But everyone else, it seems that Friday the 13th, the reboot, had a lot of positive reviews. And it wasn't going through a throwback to the 80s. It didn't have any 80s music in it. It brought back good old-fashioned, I'm going to fucking slash you in front of all your friends and kill you all one by one, and where I am an unstoppable force. And that's something we have not seen from the Friday the 13th franchise in a while. Jason X was just, it was too complicated. Freddy versus Jason was okay. Probably the better out of the New Line trilogy. But my question to you is, why did Friday the 13th reboot work? Why did it work?
Can I say something? I'm jumped on for a second. I want to say,
Ray!
Yes. You know why it worked? Because they jumped right in to the kills. They had a good storyline rather than wasting time on a big origin. The origin story was in the credits at the beginning, which I thought was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for a remake, I heard Ray Zilla talk about it earlier. We've seen Bruce Wayne's origin and Spider-Man's origin over and over, and everybody knows Jason's mom was the killer in the first movie, regardless of whether or not they've seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They basically glazed right over that like they needed to, and they jumped in. They didn't waste time. They had great kills, a good kill count as well, and it was to its core a Friday the 13th film. It could have easily fit in if the 2, 3, and 4 weren't bunched together in one weekend. It could have fit right in the middle of one of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it worked. To me, it worked, and it came out in 2009.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It's something that we touched on. It had a good storyline. It went right into the kills, just like Ray said. Just like he said, that it didn't have a fucking backstory again. Like, we didn't have to see, like, it did have, in the first 5 minutes, we saw Jason, Pamela Voorhees get killed.
Well, they did handle it very, very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, ultimately for me, I was just, been there, done that. It didn't.
Yeah, but you don't like remakes, so
it didn't propel anything. It didn't take the character forward for me. But I thought the way they handled the backstory was probably the best way to do it.
It was quick, to the point, and we moved on. We got a storyline, and it was not afraid to show graphic content.
it's a lot
Hallelujah.
of it, and
Yeah.
perfect nipple placement.
Stupendous tits. Gotta love when tits are stupendous. I just spilled beer all over my lap.
Got a little excited.
I also think
You'll have
it
to
worked
cut 'em
because, and I know we kind of touched on it the last time we talked about the Friday the 13th franchise, but
Mm-hmm.
it made Jason as a character more interesting again. He wasn't the same mongoloid zombie that just stalked his prey. He actually had intent, and he had these underground series of tunnels, and he was moving around, and he was a little bit more of a personality than what we've come to know as Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and not to mention they made him scary. I thought I wasn't scared personally, but I mean the way that they set up some of the deaths, and they made him almost the kind of piggyback what you're saying with the tunnels, a strategist. He had some strategy in what he was doing with these people, which that's something different. Which for me, that stepped it up to another level with Jason and made him scarier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. it also helps. It also helps the movie out when you don't know the fucking origin or you don't personalize the character. I had a conversation with my wife earlier this week. We were talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now, I know that this is a touchy subject for a lot of you horror fans out there. When Rob Zombie announced that he was doing Halloween, we all had the mindset that he was going in with right intentions because he even said himself that he was a fan of the original. Later on in his career, he found out that he hated the original and wanted to make his own movie. And then that being said, he humanized the character. Do you feel that if we were to humanize Jason Voorhees, would that destroy the franchise for you? To humanize Jason Voorhees, kind of like what the Paramount movie was doing. The script called for a humanized Jason Voorhees with the past. We already covered the backstory, but finding Jason Voorhees humanized, is that something that would not sit well with you and make you lose all hope for Friday the 13th and just remember the good old days?
Yeah, don't do that to him, because Michael Myers giving that little chubby kid, giving him a face and for the first 30 minutes or so of the movie made it for me. I was disinterested in the rest of the story at that point. Rob Zombie shouldn't have made Halloween. He should have done Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But if you do that to Jason, don't make Jason. He can be seen as a sympathetic character because he watched his mom die or whatever, and he's just seeking revenge for his mother. So he is kind of a sympathetic character, but that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
More sympathetic serial killer slasher movie villains there is, because he has a reason to kill. Like Freddy's not getting revenge. He's getting revenge for getting burned, but they were getting revenge for him, for their children. Jason was an innocent kid who got picked on and punished. That we know that already. Do they really need to bring Elias into the movie and another Jason? Do that? I'm glad they shut it down. I don't want to see that shit.
And you said something. You just said something that's very, very, very important. If you're going to develop, if you're going to develop this sort of character, there are reasons to be a psychopath, but there are never excuses. And so you can create, by humanizing a character, you're almost excusing him from his actions, and I don't agree with that. I was really, really not happy. I like Rob Zombie's music. I like a couple of his movies, but I did not enjoy his take on Halloween. Because for me, Michael Myers was the boogeyman. I didn't want to see the fact that he was,
they gave him a face.
You don't want to be sympathetic. You don't want to be sympathetic.
Like I said, there are reasons to become, a slasher, but there are never excuses. So I don't want to know. So to portray it that way, I think goes against the grain for me anyway.
I don't think you need to see the killer's journey to becoming the killer. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like that. Yeah. Thank you. Because in Halloween, that's exactly what you get. He's bullied by the kids. His principal's a dick.
Right.
The most wrinkliest face ever. He's got his mom is a stripper who has the biggest asshole of a boyfriend who's abusive. His sister is a slut. I mean, how many more reasons would this kid have to be fucked up? I mean, that right there is the reason why it didn't work for me, because they made Michael Myers. They gave him a fucking reason. When in Halloween 1978, one of the scariest things about Michael Myers is, why is he doing this? Now in Halloween 2007, we know why he's doing it. Fuck off, Rob Zombie. You killed the Halloween franchise completely.
Well, in the original film, they shoot him and he gets up.
I gotta drop the mic on that.
Sure.
He's out.
Thank you.
In the original movie, they shoot. Yes. But they shoot Michael Myers and he gets back up. He wasn't flesh and blood. He wasn't flesh and blood. He was what Donald Pleasance says. He was evil. You know,
Yes.
uh,
Pure evil.
pure evil, and that to me is the sexier approach to the character, as opposed to and Ray was absolutely correct. They piled it on. I mean, I'm surprised the dog didn't fucking bite him in the movie, because everybody shit on him in the movie. That would have been the best. That would have been like the icing on the cake. The dog bites him, the hamster fucking bites him, whatever, you know. But really, we're talking about Friday the 13th, and see, I kind of like Jason as a zombie. I kind of like, the Part 6 Jason, the undead Terminator kind of Jason. I'm a monster person. I like monster movies, so I guess the more monstrous depiction of Jason is the one that I gravitate towards.
So my question for everybody, if there was to be a proper Friday the 13th movie, you could, if you do agree with the whole prequel aspect, fine, say it. But if there was to be a perfect Friday the 13th movie, and that is using any of the movies from the past as a reference to make a sequel, that is to say, should we have a big studio produce it, or should we have an independent director and team make the movie, considering that Friday the 13th has always been for the fans? What would make Friday the 13th perfect to the masses or to yourself? I want to start with Jared. Jared, go ahead.
Well, for me, just having a movie in general would be awesome. That's how much I love this. Love the franchise.
But what would be?
I'm not being that blunt about it, but my perfect film would just be some of the most inventive kills you can think of. I agree he doesn't need any more backstory, like we've already touched on. And we all know what we come to expect from a Jason flick. He stalks and preys and kills. Just give us that. That's all we need. I will go watch the movie 5 times. Like, I don't even need to get that intricate about a story or plot line. Maybe a couple of boobs, That's okay.
So you're saying
that
this Friday the 13th is such a success for you, and you're such a diehard fan, that just making a Friday the 13th movie would make you want to go see it over and over and over again.
Yeah, and that makes me a fanboy, I'm sure. But I mean, I only have certain things I cling on to growing up, and Friday the 13th is like one of the hugest things I've followed my entire life.
Ray, go ahead.
Just make a movie, guys.
Well, I would say I would like to see. I mean, despite how I felt about the movie, the last reboot, the 2009 film, worked. I think they should just pick up from where that movie left off.
Yeah.
And go. Just pick up and go. With another story and another group of people and another, another scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Really, and just follow that thread.
Okay. Baron, what would be the perfect Friday the 13th movie for you?
Well, let's see. I think basically Jason returning to a camp. Maybe this time, I don't know, a corporate retreat camp full of a bunch of movie executives. I think that would be some screenwriters in there who have killed off some characters from other TV shows that Morgan likes. Throw some of them in there. One of the assholes who came up with one of the first, I don't know, let's redo Psycho movies. They should be thrown into that camp too. A couple animals, I don't care which ones, who just kill them too. Slam one against a tree, throw one up on an antenna post for a cell phone tower. I don't really give a shit. Kill a couple kids while we're at it too. Some of them are so damn annoying. Like, the parents bring these kids to the movie theaters and they're just screaming behind you, and you just want to go turn around and go, "I want to kill you too!" These kind of people, just that kind of movie, little teenage fun into nice way of explaining the motherfucking fuck shit fucking bastards that fucking these fucking movies up over fucking time. Just a little cursing, not much. Like this. That's the kind of movie we need.
Well, until
Hopefully they didn't go too far for that, but I just needed to say it.
Until Trump regulates the language barrier for social media streaming, Baron, you can say fuck as many times as you want.
Oh, fucking thank you so fucking very much for letting me have those fucking fucks. Fucking goddamn fucking films. So many fucking things to say about these fucking movies when they don't let the fucking killer just fucking fuck people up so many different fucking ways.
Morgan.
I think I'm not in a fucking bad mood or a good fucking rage or anything like that. Sorry.
Morgan, your fucking idea for a fucking perfect fucking Friday the 13th fucking movie. There we
Please
go.
tell us, Morgan, what is your fucking thoughts?
Like Baron, I think it would be.
What's that? Go ahead. Start over.
Like Baron said, I think it'd be cool to have them go back to a camp. I'd liked part, what was it, 6, with when the kids were actually in the camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and there were actually kids at the camp, and it wasn't just the counselors getting ready. I think that would be cool. And then going back to like the whole trying to make audiences like sympathize with them. I actually liked the Halloween remake, and I didn't really feel like I guess that's probably what they were trying to do, but the whole backstory and stuff didn't make me feel different about Michael Myers. And even though I hadn't seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacres, when I watched Texas Chainsaw 3D, that whole, like, they kind of did the same thing in that with trying to...
Okay. Fucking A.
You cut out at the end, Morgan.
Yeah, Morgan, you cut out at the end, and I just spilled beer all over my lap.
Again.
I know. I don't know what's wrong with me. For those who are watching... please comment what would be your perfect Friday the 13th movie. Also, never try this beer. This is called Fresh Hops of Bel Air from Manayunk. It's awful. But it's all over my lap. It's too hoppy. It's all over my lap.
You're wearing more of it than you're drinking, I think.
I am, but I'm about to drink this bitch because I don't care. I bought it today, and it's the only alcohol I have in front of me right now. My perfect Friday the 13th movie would bring it back Tom Matthews for one final showdown, Tommy versus Jason. And I'm thinking, like, maybe we can have Tommy. He's older. He's got a couple kids, and his daughter is going off to go to Camp Crystal Lake to be a counselor. And maybe he has a weird suspicion, and he goes to Camp Crystal Lake and fights zombie Jason one more time. I think that would be the perfect Friday the 13th.
I like me some zombie Jason.
Ray, you love zombie Jason. You are hard on over heels for zombie Jason.
I will admit that's the coolest Jason ever looked was when he was zombie Jason. He was never more petrifying than he was when he was zombie Jason.
Well,
And
creatively, it paints you out of a corner. If you're trying to continue to produce these movies and you're trying to write these movies from a creative standpoint, it can by making him this undead, unstoppable force, it paints you out of a corner creatively. Now you can really go bug fuck with the character. and no, but serious, you can really do a lot of interesting things once you take away that mortality factor, and add a little supernatural fun to it. But that's me, and that's my taste. So
yeah,
maybe we
totally
can,
agree.
Maybe we can include some former sci-fi execs in that version that the Baron wants to see. Created.
Oh, fuck. What the fuck?
A few people there that need to be flogged.
Yeah. And
So flogged with I don't know. Let's see, chainsaws or something. I don't know. Make it creative.
A slow and painful though.
I'm back.
Here's Morgan.
So Morgan's back. Morgan's back for the last segment. Before we do the last segment, I think that back to Tom Matthews versus Jason, I feel like the movie should take place in Manhattan. All Manhattan. Spend all your fucking wad of money in Manhattan and give us Tommy versus Jason in Manhattan. And just fucking
Going to the peep show.
go to the peep show. Like
Going
not
to the peep show. Going to Show World. Show World on 42nd and 8th.
But Morgan, you were just finishing your last statement. Did you want to catch on to that before we move to the next segment?
Yes. So what did y'all hear?
Okay. We heard that you wanted a Jason movie.
That's it.
You were also talking about how you liked the Halloween remake a little bit, but it didn't change your opinion on them.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, for even though I guess they were trying to make the audience sympathize with Michael Myers more, it didn't make me do that, and I actually liked it. And even though I hadn't seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, I watched Texas Chainsaw 3D, and they kind of did the same thing in that with sympathize for Leatherface more, and I didn't like how they did it in that. So I think it just depends on how it's done, whether or not like I would like it in the Friday the 13th movie or not.
Subjective.
Yep.
Nice.
All right, so that was our answers for our Perfect Friday the 13th. Those joining us now, it's not a whole lot, but you'll watch the rerun of this episode, you little bitches. I know you will. You just heard all of our Friday the 13th expectations. Paramount canned Friday the 13th and World War Z 2 because fuck World War Z 2. They canceled Friday the 13th because of the successful failure that Rings deserved. And I'm we're us fans are upset. I know Jared's even more upset because he's really looking forward to any type of Friday the 13th movie. But going back to what is important for the show, so we're gonna get into our final segment. It's the Razor's Burn, brought to you by Baron Craze. Baron, take it away.
Razor's Burn.
All right. Here we go. Some questions for everybody on our theme of tonight. So good luck. These are not really, they're more like generalization questions. So everybody can just jump in for them. Why is old school horror? Why is the old school horror fans not liking the modern school? I mean, what is it? What's the one thing that you can name? Just one thing. And since everybody's in deep thought, let's go with Morgan. Oh, come on. Don't give me that look.
So
I am literally the worst person to ask this question because every time I go see a movie, I pretty much like the movies, and then I'll hear horror fans and be like they didn't like it, and I'm like, why? I thought it was fine. But at the same time, just because I like it didn't mean it scared me, because it's very hard to scare me. So I don't know.
What movie has scared you then in modern horror? Yeah, I put you on the spot. I know.
The Conjuring was kind of scary.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let me change it then. So, again, a lot of us are the old school horror fans. So, for me, I'll just answer this way: the modern horror it's the ratings, really. It's the PG-13 crap that's destroying it. I need an R-rated film. If I see a film comes out and it's PG-13, I don't go to the theater. It's that simple. I just don't go. So, Brian, what do you think?
to answer everyone's questions, why old school horror fans like myself and the majority of you here are not happy with modern horror is I have to agree. It has to be the rating system, and it's the lack of dedication to making a horror movie great. Big studios do this. They do not want any type of thing to go into deep, details in depth, and they don't want to really go far into something. Horror to them is a cash grab. Let's basically say confirmed with Ray Zilla, confirmed with everyone here. Modern horror is a cash grab to big studios. And that's why we're getting all these reboots and remakes, and that's why our rating system's fucked. That's why we're getting all these PG-13 movies. So I have to agree with you, Baron. I definitely agree with you. I believe it's the rating systems that old school horror fans are just not happy with.
Okay, Jared.
There have been some successful PG-13 films, but they're not movies that I'm going to run out to the theater to go watch. Movies we've discussed, The Conjurings, The Insidiouses. I don't know if some of those were rated R. I don't know for sure, but I know a couple of them were.
Conjuring was rated R.
Okay, but some of those movies, those aren't movies I'm going to run out to the theater to go watch.
Mm-hmm.
To see the last. Don't like this movie, but the last real horror movie I went to go see was The Green Inferno.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that on a Sunday morning while people were having the bread of Christ. I was watching people have the body of someone else on screen. Just watching me. You know, what's better than a cannibal movie on, you know, people are at church? What is better? A zombie movie? I don't know. Okay.
We got a response from one of our people watching the show from Victoria Enright. Modern horror relies too heavily on special effects. CGI and not practical.
Yeah, I would agree to that.
Yeah,
totally agree.
Okay, Razilla.
100.
Well, you know, I've always considered myself a bit of a progressive. You know, I like the old stuff. I grew up with the old stuff. I have it in my collection. I know where to find it. So I'm interested in the new thing, the next thing. And I always have been, being a science fiction fan. I'm not as nostalgic, I think, as other genre fans can be. And so I think that if old school horror fans are dissatisfied with what they're seeing coming out theatrically, I would recommend they turn to cable. I would recommend that they turn to Netflix. I think that horror fans are getting that itch scratched, elsewhere, and not necessarily through theatrical releases. We've talked about it a little bit on the show. There are episodes of The Walking Dead that I think would have a difficult time earning an R rating if released theatrically. The same thing with American Horror Story as far as the sensuality. If any of you watched Spartacus at all, half of those, if you took 2 of those episodes and made them into a feature-length movie, it would never earn an R rating.
No.
So, the theatrical studio system is also kind of mired in the past as well. The ship is sailing as far as what could be pushed, what limits can be pushed, because it's being done on cable already. So if you're an old school horror fan and you like the Hammer stuff and you like the Universal stuff, but you're not into The Conjuring, you're not into Insidious. I happen to like Insidious. I thought that it was good stuff. I kind of dug it. Good scares, good jumps. I want to see the new thing. I want to see the next thing. If I want to see Friday the 13th, I have the DVDs. I can go find that. We live in a day and age now where we have access out the wazoo. When I was a kid, there was 11 channels, and if you missed, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, you were fucked till next year, and you had to sit through the commercials, so. So it was a very, very, very different time. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Sounds good. Do you think the horror genre itself is stuck in some sort of rut like it was from 1987 to early 90s. Do you think that the horror genre is stuck? Jared.
Creativity wise stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, when you've watched so many movies over the last 20, some of us over 30 years maybe or more. I'm not going to go into details, but there's only so many places we can go in this genre. So a lot of it feels rehashed and redone. In a way, yes, but there's always characters that can bring us back. It's specific, characters and storylines that can bring us back. A lot of the same, initial storylines are the same, but it's tweaking those things and making it different. Still cool.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I think there's still, I still think there is hope for us yet moving forward. I have yet to see it though.
Brian.
Yes.
Same to you. Do you think the horror genre itself, you think it's
Yes.
stuck in a rut?
Is horror stuck in a rut?
Yeah.
I think that when it comes to movies shocking and awing, I believe that that maybe we are stuck in a rut. But as going off of what Rayzilla said, there is online streaming, there is Netflix, there is Amazon, there is TV, there's cable that are extending new horror stories, new horror subgenres, and it's now replacing these big budget flops that are rated PG-13 because we can't get enough preteens in the theater to see a boogeyman. I think that when it comes to new ideas, maybe we are stuck, but the overall delivery, I think there is a lot of potential out in the open for new ideas and new creativity. I'm not saying that the Sci-Fi Channel has really done a whole lot. They throw a lot of CGI monsters in a movie, and then they make another Sharknado. But I'm talking about original content such as Walking Dead. I'm talking about even American Horror Story. As much as it pains me to say it, I think that I'm answering my own question. I think that today's horror is making it sociably acceptable to the masses. And
you can throw Penny Dreadful in there too.
Yeah, Penny Dreadful. And Penny Dreadful is perfect. Go ahead, Ray.
Oh, how about Dexter?
Yeah.
I mean, again, to answer the Baron's question, I think it depends on where you're looking. If you're looking to the studios, then yeah, the studios, I don't think they get it. Look at the crap that they turn out. But if you're willing to dig a little deeper and expand your search to VOD and to other streaming services, then you're gonna find more interesting stuff. I'm looking forward to the French cannibal film that's coming out, Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The trailer looks very interesting. This isn't like Cannibals in the Jungle. This is a bit of a different take on it. And so I to answer the Baron's question, I think it depends on where you're looking.
Okay, and Morgan.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody else said. When it comes to theatrical releases, I feel like they're all basically about the same things and like the same concepts or remakes. But yeah.
Okay, as for myself, I'm going to take this in two parts. First, yes, when it comes to the big studios, they have no fucking clue what the horror fans want. I mean, they don't. I don't care. They don't do any market research on it. They just figure, well, this is what sold before, so we'll just hand it to them again. And until they can get it all figured out, and that big pile of dog shit in their hand is fans dumping on their movies, and that gets smeared in their face, they have to swallow some of it, they're never going to get it down their fucking brain pan of what the hell the fans want. So that's number one. Number two, though, when you look at the more of the memorabilia, all the collectibles and such, I hate to say it, but I think it's stuck in a little of a rut because the only thing that seems to come out from the Sideshow and a few others is the same Friday the 13th of the 80s and the Hellraisers and things. Not a lot of modern horror is coming out. I mean, even if you took it down to some of the Living Dead dolls, okay, you can go down that road. A lot of theirs are the Freddys, the Jasons, the Chucky dolls. So they're not really embracing with the more modern horror fans. So it's almost like modern horror fans are not big into collecting a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So the overall horror genre itself, all the pieces, I think it's teetering of a little of the rut from what you get from studios. And then everybody else is just trying to give us new avenue stories. And the biggest thing is characters and good storylines, I think, is what we all want from horror.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But Baron, if I could play devil's advocate, isn't it?
Please, I'd like to double. Go ahead.
Yes, isn't it just a little difficult to be nostalgic for the Insidious franchise when it's so young? Who are we to say, 20, 30 years from now that the living dolls are going to be, the Black Bride or such, the things that struck the responsive chord in the young people of today. And then when they become your age and my age, they'll be nostalgic for that thing.
Will they stand the test of time?
Yeah.
And so we really don't know the answer to that yet. We know the answer because we lived through the 80s. Some of us lived through the 80s, and
with all the things through the 80s, right?
And some of us lived through the 70s, and and don't remember a fucking thing. And but who's to say, in the year 2030, if the kids will be climbing over each other over Black Bride dolls and things like that.
It might happen. Yes.
Don't even want to think about that.
No, to answer your question, it'd have to have the test of time. I mean, if we went back and we were to look at the films from the 20s and 30s, at that time, no one thought about them in any way. I mean, in any case, it isn't until later that we have such a fondness for them. So yes, it will take the test of time to see whether some of these films that Insidious, The Conjuring, such do last. It depends on the course of everything else. It could happen. Not saying it doesn't, but I'm looking at the staple right now. What's happening in this moment when a lot of us are getting ready to go to a lot of horror cons and such, of what we'll see out there on those convention floors. We're going to be seeing a lot of things that are pretty much going to be reminiscent of the heyday of horror, if you would.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're
not going to see a lot of Frankensteins. You're not going to see a lot of Wolfmans. You're not going to see a lot of Frankensteins. You're going to see a lot of Freddys. You're going to see a lot of Jasons. You're going to see a lot of Michael Myers. Yeah.
If I can interrupt for a second, Facebook, we have a comment saying that this from Omal De Cristo. He is our game streamer. He streamed Resident Evil 7. He said he thinks that big budget studios are being careful because people are easily offended these days. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
I agree.
Let's face it.
Yeah.
Good question, Omal.
I mean, if I could take it up there. People are a little too thin-skinned. They don't know how to take humor. They don't know how to take a slight dig, if you would. They get – look, a lot of you know that – look, wait a minute first. Let me finish. A lot of you know I run 2 music shows, Shreddy Metal Beast and Sinister Death. The first thing I see at the top of those shows is, this is not a politically correct show. If you're easily offended, turn the fucking thing off now because I will fucking offend you in a fucking second. I don't really play fucking nice on those shows. I drop every fucking curse there is, more than I've done on this show. This show can't even compare to what I do on that show. That music will fucking tear your fucking face off and shit the goddamn motherfucking in your fucking eyeballs. I don't give a shit. So
How about that?
okay, they are thin skinned. They can't handle digs and little things. I mean, look, face it. A lot of us grew up, 70s, 80s. Some of us, we knew how to talk to each other, and we could say whatever how we wanted, and no one got upset. Today, they get upset over the littlest damn thing that happens. They have some damn hissy fit or something, and I go, I don't understand what's wrong with you. We didn't do that anything that bad. So, what
Did you just assume my gender?
No, I already knew it. You're spilling beer on your lap enough. It tells me something about you right now.
But sometimes, offending an audience can be can turn into a success. Particularly in the horror genre. If you can get people to pick at your movie, then maybe you're drawing attention. Let's look at that dog movie that came out last weekend, A Dog's Purpose. There was some footage released of the dog trying to be, put into a water tank and all of this stuff. And PETA got upset, and you want to talk about folks that got upset about things, people getting offended.
Well, the dog submerged.
Well, guess what? The movie did great at the box office. It was
free marketing.
It was very successful, and quite possibly the movie got a great deal of attention because of the controversy involved, and maybe that's what drove the box office. I'm not going to say that it had a significant impact, but it certainly gave the movie legs and a voice online. Good Morning America, the Today Show, all covering this, seemingly innocent independent film. So, sometimes offending people, I think, particularly when it comes to horror, sometimes that could be of benefit. And in the case of Green Inferno, it hampered the film greatly. The level of gore and the level of violence, because the Green Inferno sat on a shelf, and there lies the prejudice.
For like 3 years.
Yeah, and that's just genuine prejudice. So, but offending people, I think, good horror, good comedy, for that matter, should be a little offensive.
The word horror, told you, 3 R's. It's got to be there. It has to be offensive.
I agree. That was a really good analogy, Baron. I have to say that earlier. Yeah, that was a really great analogy. There's R's in horror for a reason.
Anybody else want to weigh in on it? Morgan?
What were we talking about?
Brian read a question online. What was the question again, Brian?
The question was, do you think that people are easily offended? Is that why big budget studios are not making movies? It's because they're afraid to offend everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could think that, because if you look back a couple of years ago when the interview with Seth Rogen and James Franco was going to come out, people before that came out, they pulled it from a bunch of theaters because people were getting offended from it already, and it hadn't even come out yet.
Oh no, that was because the leader of North Korea threatened to bomb us.
Oh, well, yeah, but still, people.
That was the Sony hack, man.
That was because they threatened to go to war with us, and that movie was released, and they released it anyway.
Because they ain't us.
He's peanut butter and jelly.
But even after that, people were like, "See, it shouldn't have even been a thing in the first place because we knew this was going to happen or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
All right, that was pretty much all the questions I had. Brian had a lot of great questions on the show, so he used up a whole bunch.
Well, I'm glad that we had a whole bunch of questions because, we are in despair right now. Paramount came back after years and years of waiting for a new Jason movie, almost 30 years, right? Almost 30 years of waiting for a new Paramount Jason movie. and they canned it. And maybe they canned it for good reasons. Maybe they canned it for bad reasons. But the major reason why it was canned was because of the failure of Rings, which in all of our opinions was stupid. Fucking
And how much of a failure is Rings, though? It took in 13 million domestically here in the U.S. and it took in 15 million internationally. That's 28 million. And what did we say the budget was? I think the budget was 30 million. So, I mean,
it made its money back. It made
will it double it? Well, you really got to double, to see any sort of profit. But it still has, DVD. It still has, television sale, cable sale.
Yeah.
Now, out of curiosity, for the Friday the 13th, does the rights stay with Paramount even though they haven't made the movie, or are those rights going to revert back to New Line?
Everyone's getting paid. Paramount's keeping the rights until they decide to sell the rights. It's just
okay.
Well,
I saw it.
Property to begin with.
It was, but I'm pretty sure the rights revert back to New Line in 2018 because of a contract.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw that
I've read two different things, and I was just curious if anyone else heard about it. So,
well,
well, that's interesting. That's gonna so it's much like the way that it's much like the deal that Sony had with Marvel, where Sony licensed the character of Spider-Man and then had you option, and then you have a set amount of time to make that movie before your option runs out. So Paramount obviously has an option, and if they don't make a film by the time the option runs out, they're shit out of luck.
Exactly. So Paramount's on the timeline.
How about that?
And they paid for that, so they best be making a movie.
Well, we can only hope.
I need a movie.
Will you pay for that option?
We hope to see the best. We hope to see Friday the 13th in the light of day. If you're just joining us, you missed the entire episode. But you can always rewatch our episode. I swear to you, the next 3 episodes will be on YouTube later this week. Friday night. If you're not doing anything and you want to watch some good old out-of-print horror movies, go to our sister page, VHS Midnight Presentation on Facebook and stream live. Talk to us. We'll talk back to you. It's a whole lot of fun. So that's what we have Friday night. We also have Baron's Crypt Friday night starting at 6:30. Right, Baron? We can find you on Blog Talk Radio.
Yes, this Friday, again, it is at 5:30, and we'll be at 5:30 for the next 6 weeks as I gear up for a fundraising event for MS. So check us out at 5:30 on Friday nights. You can find more information, but on Facebook for the Baron's Crypt.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Well, my name is Brian Enright. You can follow me on Facebook at Brian Enright, or you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Horror Jew. Baron, where can we find you?
Well, you can't really find me. You can just follow me. Follow me on Twitter under Baron_Craze. Also, you can follow me on the Baron Craze on Facebook and the Baron's Crypt also on Facebook. As for following people, I just do the stalking.
Jared, where can we find you?
He doesn't even bother following. He just stalks.
Everybody needs a hobby.
Yeah. You guys can like or follow me on Facebook at Jared Letourneau, or follow me on the Twitterverse at zombie_survivor.
Awesome. Jared, up next. Morgan, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Morgan_Jewel_S.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Morgan. Last but not least, Uncle Rayzilla, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me performing at St. Mickey's Knights of Columbus here in Lodi, New Jersey. I'll be taking on the role of Tevia and Fiddler on the Roof. And also, you can follow me on Twitter at RayzillaNJ.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Tevia. And look forward to seeing your performance live here at the Horror Syndicate.
Tradition.
Thank you for joining us tonight. And everyone, have a safe, great night. And, stay classy, San Diego. All right, we're done, guys.
Well,
Wait, no, we're
still
not.
on YouTube. It's the after show.
Not on YouTube.
It's the after show.
It's the
This is
after
our
show.
this is our
Oh,
Where
gimmick
we-
reel.
Where Brian
Now,
gets
if you're still watching us on YouTube, this is where we each take a turn saying "fuck."
Bye.
Morgan.
I'm pretty sure Baron took all the fucks out of my breath.
It's true.
Oh, fuck it.
It was like a Rage Against the Machine record before. Jeez Louise. Man.
What fucking thing did I do wrong? I didn't do any fucking thing wrong.
So,
What did we express?
YouTube.
We are on a movie.
come on, YouTube.
What do you fucking want?
We
Do
are
you have any
still on.
comments? We have any
My-
comments from YouTubers that are?
My comment is that my pants are dry since I spilled beer on them.
Wow.
So that's
Wow,
yeah.
Are your pants dry?
This is the worst